You don't belong here. Get out. Excuse me, I'm a paying customer. No, you're not. People like you don't come to places like this. People like me? I just ordered a coffee. I'm waiting for my drink. You're making everyone uncomfortable. Either leave or I'm calling the police. Ma'am, I own a business 3 blocks from here. I come here every morning. Sure you do. And I'm the Queen of England. Get out before I make you leave. I'm not going anywhere. You need to calm down. Don't tell me to calm down. I said get out. Margaret Ellen Whitfield had lived in the Buckhead neighborhood of Atlanta for 23 years when she walked into a Starbucks and destroyed her own life over a cup of coffee. She was 54 years old, wealthy enough to know better, educated enough to understand consequences, but apparently convinced that her assumptions about who belonged in her neighborhood were infallible. One Wednesday morning in April, she saw a black woman standing at the mobile order pickup counter and decided that woman didn't belong there. What Whitfield did next, screaming racial accusations, physically assaulting a stranger, and refusing to stop even when witnesses intervened, would become a textbook example of how unchecked entitlement destroys lives. The woman she attacked was Denise Richardson, a 47-year-old entrepreneur who'd built a multi-million-dollar catering company from nothing and owned 3 commercial properties within walking distance of that Starbucks. The assault lasted less than 4 minutes, but its consequences would last forever. Criminal charges, a civil lawsuit, and a judge who'd had enough of wealthy defendants expecting their money to buy leniency. 9 months in jail, a $40,000 fine, a $2.1 million civil settlement, and a life in ruins. A black woman in her late 42nd, Denise Richardson, was standing at the mobile order counter in a Starbucks she'd visited nearly every weekday for 6 years. Her phone was in her hand, checking her schedule for the morning. No crime, no disturbance, no violation, just an entrepreneur grabbing coffee before opening her business. But Margaret Whitfield saw her through a filter so distorted by assumptions about who belongs in upscale neighborhoods that she couldn't process a black woman as a legitimate customer, let alone a successful business owner. Before we continue, where are you watching from? If this is your first time here, please hit that subscribe button. Stories like these need to be shared, and your support helps us bring more truth to light. The Starbucks Reserve on Peachtree Road sits in the heart of Buckhead, Atlanta's wealthiest neighborhood. It's the kind of location that screams affluence from every angle. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking designer boutiques, Italian leather seating arranged around a copper-topped coffee bar, and a clientele that drives luxury vehicles and carries handbags that cost more than most people's monthly rent. Buckhead isn't just wealthy, it's performatively wealthy. The neighborhood has a median household income of $142,000, nearly triple the national average. The streets are lined with hedge fund offices, plastic surgery clinics, and restaurants where a single dinner costs more than a week's groceries. The people who live here want you to know they've made it. It was 7:42 a.m. on a Wednesday in April. The morning sun streamed through those massive windows, casting long shadows across the polished concrete floor. The store was busy but not packed, maybe 15 customers scattered across the tables and standing in line. The hiss of espresso machines competed with soft jazz playing through hidden speakers. The smell of fresh roasted coffee filled the air. Outside, Peachtree Road hummed with morning traffic. Mercedes sedans, BMW SUVs, the occasional Porsche, dog walkers and athleisure wear passed by with purebred retrievers. Personal trainers escorted clients to boutique fitness studios. The kind of morning where nothing dramatic typically happens. The kind of place where people come to be seen, to network, to demonstrate that they belong to a certain economic class. And for Margaret Whitfield, who'd been coming to this exact Starbucks for over a decade, that sense of belonging had curdled into something darker, a belief that she had the right to decide who else belonged there. Denise Richardson had been building her business, Magnolia Catering and Events, for 19 years. 19 years of 4 a.m. wake-up calls, 80-hour weeks, and the relentless hustle required to transform a small personal chef service into one of Atlanta's premier catering companies. She'd started with a $3,000 loan from her grandmother and a used catering van with 180,000 miles on it. She'd ended up with 47 full-time employees, 3 commercial kitchens, and contracts with Fortune 500 companies, professional sports teams, and the city's most exclusive country clubs. Her client list read like a who's who of Atlanta power: Coca-Cola corporate events, Delta Airlines executive retreats, the Atlanta Falcons season opener parties. She'd catered the mayor's inauguration gala and 3 Georgia gubernatorial fundraisers. The Atlanta Business Chronicle had named her Entrepreneur of the Year in 2019. Black Enterprise magazine had featured her as one of the 50 most powerful black women in business in 2021. Her employees called her demanding but fair. Her clients called her the best in the business. Richardson had earned her culinary degree from Johnson and Wales University in Providence, graduating with honors while working 2 jobs to pay her tuition. She'd trained under Chef Thomas Keller at the French Laundry for 18 months, one of only 3 black women ever selected for his mentorship program. She'd later completed an executive MBA at Emory University's Goizueta Business School, finishing in the top 10% of her class. She sat on the board of the Atlanta Chamber of Commerce. She was a founding member of the Georgia Restaurant Association's Diversity Council. She'd received the National Restaurant Association's prestigious Cornerstone Award for her work mentoring young entrepreneurs from underserved communities. At 47 years old, Denise Richardson was exactly where she'd worked to be: successful, respected, and financially secure. She was a single mother who'd raised 2 children while building her empire. Her daughter had just graduated from Spelman College. Her son was in his 2nd year at Morehouse. She'd paid for both educations in full, determined that her children would never carry the student debt that had burdened her own 20s. She lived in a restored Victorian home in the Collier Hills neighborhood, 5 miles from Buckhead. She drove a Tesla Model S she'd paid for in cash. She donated over $100,000 annually to scholarships for first-generation college students. She was the American dream personified, but to some people, she would never be more than a black woman who didn't belong. That Wednesday morning, Richardson had woken at 5:15 a.m. as usual. She'd reviewed her schedule: a 9 a.m. meeting with a potential corporate client, a noon walkthrough at the Georgia World Congress Center for an upcoming convention, and an afternoon menu tasting for a wedding. She'd stopped at the Buckhead Starbucks because it was directly between her home and her main commercial kitchen on Piedmont Road. She'd been coming to this exact location for 6 years, ordering the same thing every time: a venti iced coffee with oat milk, no sweetener. She'd placed her mobile order at 7:31 a.m. while still in her car, then walked in to pick it up. She wore tailored black slacks, a cream silk blouse, and low heels. A gold watch her children had given her for her 45th birthday glinted on her wrist. Her Magnolia Catering branded tote bag hung from her shoulder. She looked like what she was: a successful businesswoman starting another successful day. She'd done nothing to attract attention. She'd spoken to no one. She'd simply walked to the mobile pickup counter, checked her phone, and waited for her name to be called. But to one person in that Starbucks, Denise Richardson's presence was a problem. Her existence in that space, in that neighborhood, at that counter, it offended something deep in Margaret Whitfield's worldview, and Margaret Whitfield had decided to do something about it. Margaret Ellen Whitfield was 54 years old. She'd been a fixture in Buckhead society for over 2 decades, ever since her husband, a hedge fund manager, had relocated the family from Connecticut. She was active in her homeowners association, her country club's social committee, and her church's women's auxiliary. Her neighbors described her as involved but particular, friendly but judgmental, the kind of woman who noticed when someone's lawn was a 1/4 inch too long, or when an unfamiliar car parked on the street. She hadn't worked since her first child was born 28 years earlier. She filled her days with Pilates classes, charity luncheons, and an endless rotation of committee meetings. She was wealthy, comfortable, and convinced that her comfort was synonymous with community standards. In the years since moving to Buckhead, Whitfield had compiled a record of complaints, confrontations, and incidents that should have served as warning signs. 14 documented incidents. 14. 6 involved calling police on black or Hispanic individuals in her neighborhood or at local businesses for crimes that existed only in her imagination. A black real estate agent showing a home on her street. Whitfield called police claiming he was casing houses for burglary. A Hispanic landscaping crew working on a neighbor's yard. Whitfield confronted them, demanding proof they had permission to be there. Then called police when they didn't show her a work order fast enough. They'd been servicing that property for 3 years. A black teenager walking through the neighborhood. Whitfield followed him in her car for 6 blocks, then called 911, claiming he looked suspicious. He was walking home from the bus stop after school. 4 incidents involved confrontations at local businesses. She'd screamed at a young black woman using a laptop at a coffee shop, demanding to know if she'd actually purchased anything. She'd complained to management at a boutique when a Hispanic family touched merchandise she was considering buying. She demanded a restaurant manager verify that a black couple sitting in the patio section had actually made a reservation. The pattern was clear. The documentation was extensive, but Whitfield had never faced real consequences. Her wealth insulated her. Her social connections protected her. Her country club friends dismissed her behavior as Margaret being Margaret. Each incident ended the same way: an awkward apology, a dismissive wave, a refusal to acknowledge what she'd actually done. No charges were ever filed, no lawsuits materialized. No one had the resources or the energy to fight back. Until Denise Richardson. That Wednesday morning, Whitfield had arrived at the Starbucks at 7:38 a.m. She'd been coming here for years, always ordering the same thing: a grande skinny vanilla latte with an extra shot, always sitting in the same leather chair by the window, always surveying the room like she owned it. When she walked in, her eyes immediately scanned for anything out of place. They landed on Denise Richardson, a black woman standing alone at the mobile order counter, looking at her phone. In Whitfield's mind, something didn't compute. A black woman in this Starbucks. A black woman dressed nicely, but not in the way Whitfield's friends dressed nicely. A black woman who seemed too comfortable, too confident, too present. She must be lost. She must be in the wrong neighborhood. She must be one of those people who wander into nice areas to use the facilities or steal. Whitfield didn't see a successful entrepreneur. She didn't see a Chamber of Commerce board member. She didn't see a woman who'd earned every dollar she had. She saw an intruder, and she decided to remove her. Whitfield watched Richardson for nearly 3 minutes. She watched her check her phone. She watched her glance at the pickup counter. She watched her exist, and that existence was unacceptable. Finally, Whitfield set down her purse, straightened her shoulders, and walked directly toward Richardson. Her face was already arranged into an expression of disgust and entitlement. Her mind had already written the narrative. Do you think individuals with documented histories of racially motivated confrontations should face enhanced penalties for repeat offenses? Drop your answer below. Denise Richardson was scrolling through her email when she became aware of someone standing uncomfortably close to her. She looked up and saw a white woman in her 50s, blonde hair perfectly styled, wearing a Lilly Pulitzer dress and pearls, staring at her with undisguised contempt. "You don't belong here. Get out." Richardson blinked, momentarily confused. The statement was so bizarre, so disconnected from reality, that her brain struggled to process it. "Excuse me? I said you don't belong here. Leave, now." Richardson's confusion shifted to recognition. She'd encountered this before, not this woman specifically, but this type, this energy, this assumption that her presence required justification. "Ma'am, I'm a paying customer. I'm waiting for my mobile order." Whitfield's face twisted into something ugly. "No, you're not. People like you don't come to places like this. You're either lost or you're casing the place. Either way, get out." "People like me." Richardson kept her voice level, but the words landed like a physical blow. She understood exactly what people like you meant. "I come here every single morning. I own a business 3 blocks from here." "Sure you do. And I'm the Queen of England." Richardson reached into her tote bag and pulled out a business card, heavy cardstock, embossed with the Magnolia Catering logo. "Here, Magnolia Catering and Events. I'm Denise Richardson, the owner and CEO. My commercial kitchen is on Piedmont Road. I've been coming to this Starbucks for 6 years. Whitfield glanced at the card and sneered. "Anyone can print a business card. That doesn't prove anything. Then call the number, or Google my company, or ask any of the baristas here, they know me by name. I'm not calling anyone. I know what I see, and what I see is someone who doesn't belong here pretending they do." Richardson's jaw tightened. Every instinct told her to walk away, to de-escalate, to be the bigger person. But something in Whitfield's eyes, that absolute certainty, that unshakable conviction that Richardson was less than human, made walking away feel like surrender. "What you see is a black woman, and you've decided that's a crime. That's your problem, not mine. This is where entitlement becomes assault. Margaret Whitfield had spent 54 years being told she was right. Her money validated her. Her social position protected her. Her assumptions were never seriously challenged. When Richardson refused to cower, refused to apologize for her own existence, refused to validate Whitfield's distorted worldview, something in Whitfield snapped. She couldn't be wrong. That wasn't possible. If Richardson wasn't leaving, if Richardson was standing her ground, then Richardson had to be forced to submit. Whitfield's voice rose to a shriek. "I told you to get out!" She grabbed Richardson's arm with both hands and yanked, trying to physically drag her toward the door. Richardson stumbled, caught off balance by the sudden attack. "Get your hands off me." The Starbucks had gone silent. Every conversation stopped. Every head turned. Every phone came out. A young man at a nearby table stood up. "Hey, what the hell are you doing?" Whitfield ignored him. She released Richardson's arm only to shove her hard in the chest. "Get out, get out, get out." Richardson stumbled backward, her coffee, which a barista had just set on the counter, crashing to the floor. Hot liquid splashed across the polished concrete. A woman near the door shouted to the barista, "Call the police, right now." Another customer moved toward the confrontation. "Ma'am, you need to stop. You're assaulting her." Whitfield whirled to face him. "This is none of your business. She's trespassing." "She's not trespassing. She was waiting for her coffee." Richardson steadied herself against the counter. Her heart was pounding, but she kept her voice controlled. "I'm not going anywhere. You just assaulted me in front of 15 witnesses, and I guarantee every single one of them is recording." Whitfield's face was red, her breath coming in ragged gasps. "I don't care who's recording. I want you out of my neighborhood." "Your neighborhood? This is a public business. You don't own it. I've been coming here for 10 years. I know everyone who works here. I know the owner. You're nobody." Should businesses be required to ban customers who commit assault on their premises, regardless of how long they've been patrons? Let me know what you think. What happened next was captured on multiple camera angles. The footage would later be played in court, shared millions of times online, and used in training materials for prosecutors handling hate crime cases. Whitfield lunged at Richardson again. This time, she grabbed a fistful of Richardson's silk blouse and pulled, tearing the fabric. Richardson tried to back away, but Whitfield followed, scratching at her face, her neck, her arms. "Stop touching me!" Richardson raised her arms to protect herself. She didn't strike back, didn't even push Whitfield away. Every fiber of her being wanted to fight back, but she knew, with the certainty that comes from a lifetime of navigating spaces where she wasn't wanted, that if she laid a single finger on this white woman, she would be the one arrested. A male customer finally intervened. He grabbed Whitfield from behind, wrapping his arms around her midsection and pulling her away. "Ma'am, stop, the police are coming." Whitfield struggled against him, still screaming. "Let me go, she attacked me, she attacked me." "Nobody attacked you. We all saw what happened. You attacked her." Richardson stood frozen, her torn blouse hanging open, scratches visible on her neck and forearms. Blood seeped from a cut near her collarbone, where Whitfield's nail had gouged her skin. The entire assault had lasted less than 4 minutes, but it felt like hours. Officers Marcus Thompson and Daniel Rivera arrived at 7:58 a.m., 16 minutes after the 911 call. Officer Thompson was a 14-year veteran who'd worked this precinct for most of his career. He'd seen plenty of these calls, "suspicious person," complaints that turned out to be nothing more than racism dressed in polite language. But this one was different. When they walked in, they found chaos. A white woman being restrained by a male customer, a black woman standing alone with visible injuries, and a crowd of witnesses all talking at once. Thompson took immediate control. "Everyone step back. Ma'am, let go of her. Sir, you can release her now." The male customer released Whitfield. Thompson positioned himself between the two women. "Someone tell me what happened." 6 people spoke at once. Thompson held up his hand. "One at a time. You." He pointed to the barista behind the counter. "Start from the beginning." The barista, a young woman named Brianna, was shaking. The woman in the dress just attacked her. The other woman was waiting for her mobile order, and the blonde woman walked up and started screaming at her to leave. Then she grabbed her, shoved her, tore her shirt, scratched her face. It was insane. She didn't do anything. She was just standing there. Thompson turned to Richardson. "Ma'am, are you okay? Do you need medical attention?" Richardson's voice was steady, but her hands were trembling. "I need documentation of my injuries, and I want to press charges. We'll get you medical attention. Can you tell me what happened?" Richardson gave a clear, concise account. Her routine stop for coffee, Whitfield's unprovoked confrontation, the escalating verbal abuse, the physical assault. "I have a business card in my bag. I own Magnolia Catering. I've been coming to this Starbucks for 6 years. I don't know this woman. I've never seen her before. She attacked me because I'm black in her neighborhood." Thompson examined Richardson's injuries. The torn blouse, the scratches on her neck and arms, the cut near her collarbone. "These need to be documented. Rivera, call for a medic." He turned to Whitfield. "Ma'am, I need to see your identification." Whitfield's demeanor had shifted. The screaming rage had been replaced by something cooler, more calculated. "I was defending myself. She attacked me first." Every witness in the store spoke at once. "That's not true. She didn't touch her. It's all on video." Thompson held up his hand again. "Ma'am, do you have any injuries?" Whitfield looked down at herself. "There wasn't a mark on her. She grabbed my arm. She threatened me. Did she make contact with you at any point?" Whitfield hesitated. "She was aggressive." Thompson had seen enough. "Ma'am, you're under arrest for simple battery. Turn around and put your hands behind your back." Whitfield's face went white. "You can't arrest me. Do you know who I am? Do you know who my husband is?" "Ma'am, turn around." "This is ridiculous. She's the one who doesn't belong here. Turn around now, or I'll add resisting arrest to the charges." For the first time, Whitfield seemed to understand that her wealth wasn't going to protect her. Her hands shook as Thompson cuffed her. "You're making a mistake. A huge mistake. You have the right to remain silent. I'd suggest using it." Rivera had finished taking preliminary statements from witnesses. Thompson approached Richardson, who was now sitting in a chair, a barista holding a clean towel against the cut on her collarbone. "Miss Richardson, I'm sorry this happened to you. We have multiple witness statements and what appears to be extensive video evidence. The DA's office will be in touch about prosecution. Do you want to be transported to the hospital?" Richardson nodded slowly. "Yes, I want every injury documented." "We'll make that happen." She paused. "For what it's worth, I've seen a lot of these incidents. This one is going to be prosecuted to the fullest extent. It should be. Because I'm not the first person she's done this to. I guarantee it. Should individuals who commit assault while making racial accusations face automatic hate crime enhancements? Drop your answer below. Within 3 hours, the videos had exploded across social media. Multiple angles from different witnesses showed everything. Whitfield's initial confrontation, her screaming accusations, her physical attacks, Richardson's complete non-resistance. Buckhead Karen attacks black business owner in Starbucks. Atlanta woman arrested after racist assault caught on video. Black entrepreneur assaulted for not belonging in upscale coffee shop. CEO of $1 million company attacked by woman who assumed she was trespassing. The outrage was immediate and intense. Magnolia Catering's phone lines were jammed with calls from people wanting to express support. The company's website crashed from traffic. Interview requests poured in from local stations, national networks, and major publications. Within 24 hours, the hashtag number Justice for Denise had been used over 400,000 times. Margaret Whitfield's life imploded within days. Her husband, Gerald Whitfield, issued a terse statement through his law firm. "This is a private family matter. We will have no further comment." Sources close to the family reported he was furious, not at what his wife had done, but at the attention it brought to him. The Whitfields were quietly expelled from their country club. Their membership at their church was suspended pending review. Old friends stopped returning calls. Margaret's name was everywhere, attached to words like racist, Karen, and violent. Her face was a meme. Her address was posted online by vigilante justice seekers. Police had to increase patrols on her street. She was released on $25,000 bail the day of her arrest. Her attorney, a high-priced criminal defense lawyer, immediately began preparing a defense strategy. It would fail spectacularly. Fulton County District Attorney Fonnie Willis took personal interest in the case. The charges were upgraded from simple battery to aggravated assault and battery with hate crime enhancement. Georgia's hate crime law, passed in 2020, allowed for enhanced penalties when crimes were motivated by race, color, religion, national origin, sex, sexual orientation, gender, or disability. The evidence was overwhelming. Multiple videos from multiple angles, 15 witness statements, documented injuries, and Richardson's unimpeachable reputation. Whitfield's defense attorneys tried every tactic, claiming self-defense, claiming provocation, claiming mental health issues, requesting change of venue. None of it worked. The trial lasted 4 days. The jury deliberated for 6 hours. The verdict: guilty on all counts. Judge Harold Freeman, a 30-year veteran of the Fulton County bench, handled sentencing personally. Miss Whitfield, you assaulted a woman because you believed her skin color meant she didn't belong in a public business. You attacked her physically when she refused to submit to your bigotry. You did this in front of 15 witnesses, apparently believing your social position would protect you from consequences. You were wrong. The sentence: 9 months in the Fulton County Jail. A $40,000 fine, the maximum allowed under Georgia law. 3 years of probation upon release. Mandatory completion of racial bias training. 500 hours of community service with civil rights organizations. Whitfield sobbed as she was led from the courtroom in handcuffs. Richardson filed her civil lawsuit 2 weeks after the assault. It named Margaret Whitfield and Gerald Whitfield personally, seeking damages for assault, battery, intentional infliction of emotional distress, and violation of civil rights. The claims were comprehensive: documented physical injuries requiring medical treatment, psychological trauma requiring therapy, damage to personal property, the torn blouse, the spilled coffee, and reputational harm. Discovery was brutal for the Whitfields. Their financial records were subpoenaed, their social media history was examined, and most damaging, the lawsuit's investigators uncovered Whitfield's pattern of behavior. 14 documented incidents over 7 years of racially motivated confrontations. The pattern evidence was devastating. Each prior incident supported the argument that Whitfield's attack on Richardson wasn't an isolated outburst, but the predictable result of unchecked racism finally meeting a victim with resources to fight back. The Whitfields' attorneys recommended settlement. Aggressively. The final amount: $2.1 million, paid from the Whitfields' personal assets, plus a public apology, which Margaret was required to read aloud and post on all her social media accounts. Margaret Whitfield served her full 9-month sentence. She was released in January of the following year, her hair grayer, her face thinner, her life in ruins. Gerald Whitfield filed for divorce while she was incarcerated. The proceedings were finalized 3 months after her release. Under Georgia's equitable distribution laws, Margaret received a settlement, but it was a fraction of what she'd enjoyed during her marriage. The $2.1 million civil judgment had come from joint assets. Gerald made clear he considered it her debt, not his. Her children, 2 adult sons, declined to comment publicly. Neither was present when she was released from jail. Margaret Whitfield, who had once sat on country club committees and chaired charity luncheons, was last reported living in a modest apartment in Cobb County, far from the Buckhead neighborhood she had once considered her domain. Denise Richardson testified at a Georgia State Senate hearing on hate crime enforcement 6 months after the assault. Her testimony was powerful, measured, and devastating. I'm Denise Richardson. I'm the owner and CEO of Magnolia Catering and Events. I employ 47 people. I've built my business over 19 years. I've catered events for Fortune 500 companies, professional sports teams, and state government functions. I've been featured in national publications. I sit on the board of the Atlanta Chamber of Commerce. She paused. And on April 14th, I was physically assaulted in a Starbucks by a woman who decided I didn't belong there. I was waiting for my coffee. I was dressed professionally. I was minding my own business. And a complete stranger walked up to me, told me people like me don't come to places like this, and attacked me when I refused to leave. Another pause. Richardson's voice dropped. People like me. 3 words. That's all it took to reduce 19 years of work, 47 employees, a multi-million-dollar company, to people like me. In that woman's eyes, nothing I'd accomplished mattered. Nothing I'd built mattered. I was just a black woman in a space where she didn't think black women belonged. She looked directly at the committee. I had resources. I had witnesses. I had video evidence. I had a district attorney who took my case seriously. I was able to hire excellent attorneys. I could afford to take time away from my business to pursue justice. Her voice strengthened. But what about the people who don't have those resources? What about the black teenager who gets followed through a store? What about the Hispanic family who gets questioned at a restaurant? What about the people who can't afford lawyers, who can't miss work for court dates, who are too scared to press charges because they don't believe the system will protect them? Richardson leaned forward. The woman who attacked me had done this before. 14 times. 14 documented incidents of racially motivated harassment and confrontation. And not once did she face real consequences. Until she attacked someone who could fight back. The hearing room was silent. 9 months in jail is justice. $2 million is accountability. But it shouldn't take a millionaire business owner getting attacked on video for the system to work. It should work for everyone. Every time. Regardless of resources. Should prior documented incidents of racial harassment be admissible in all criminal proceedings involving the same perpetrator? Drop your answer below. This wasn't just about one assault in one coffee shop. This was about a society that lets people like Margaret Whitfield accumulate 14 incidents of racially motivated harassment without consequences. This was about a system that only works when the victim has resources to fight back. Margaret Whitfield's record told a story that everyone ignored for 7 years. 14 incidents. 14. Every single one involving people of color she decided didn't belong in her spaces. A real estate agent showing a home, a landscaping crew doing their jobs, a teenager walking home from school, a young woman using a laptop in a coffee shop. The pattern was obvious. The documentation was extensive, but Whitfield's wealth insulated her. Her social connections protected her. Her country club friends dismissed her behavior as Margaret being Margaret. Just quirky, just anxious, just looking out for the neighborhood. And so, she kept escalating. Each incident without consequences reinforced her belief that she was right. Each time the police came and went without arresting anyone, she was validated. Each time her victims chose not to pursue charges because they didn't have the time, the money, the energy, the faith in the system, she was empowered. Until Denise Richardson. Margaret Whitfield spent 9 months in jail. That's consequence. She paid $40,000 in criminal fines. That's accountability. She paid $2.1 million in civil damages. That's justice. Her marriage ended. Her social standing collapsed. Her life as she knew it is over. But money and prison time don't undo trauma. They don't erase the scratches on Denise Richardson's neck. They don't untear her blouse. They don't give back the months of therapy she needed to feel safe in public spaces again. And they don't protect the next black woman who walks into a Starbucks in a wealthy neighborhood. The real question is, what changes now? Do we finally acknowledge that people like Margaret Whitfield exist in every wealthy neighborhood, every upscale coffee shop, every country club? Do businesses finally train their employees to recognize and respond to racially motivated harassment by customers? Do prosecutors finally treat pattern behavior as what it is? Evidence that the next incident isn't if, but when? Do we finally build systems that protect everyone, not just those with the resources to fight back? Because if we don't fix the culture that produced Margaret Whitfield, if we don't address the entitlement that let her believe she had the right to decide who belonged in public spaces, then we're just waiting for the next Karen, the next assault, the next victim, the next viral video. Comment if you believe this should be law. Individuals with 3 or more documented incidents of racially motivated harassment should face mandatory intervention and enhanced penalties for any subsequent offenses. No more waiting for 14 incidents before consequences arrive. And if you think these stories need to be told, if you believe accountability starts with awareness and change starts with pressure, then hit that subscribe button. We're not stopping. We're going to keep exposing these patterns. We're going to keep demanding better. We're going to keep fighting for the business owners, the coffee drinkers, the ordinary people who deserve to exist in public spaces without being assaulted for the color of their skin. This isn't just about one entitled woman or one successful entrepreneur. It's about all of us and the world we're willing to accept. Denise Richardson shouldn't have needed 47 employees, a multi-million-dollar company, and 15 witnesses with smartphones to get justice. Justice should be available to everyone. Until it is, we keep telling these stories.